Well, June is Men's Health Month. It's a time for us men to prioritize prevention. Our Michael Richardson spoke with Med Team Dr. Ed Dominguez about the importance of prostate and colon cancer screenings.
The American Cancer Society estimates there will be over 100,000 new cases of colon cancer in America this year. Of those, over half will be diagnosed in men.
We have seen earlier and earlier onset colon cancer in the United States, actually in other parts of the world as well.
Colon cancer is a disease that Methodist Dallas Medical Center's Dr. Ed Dominguez recommends keeping an eye on.
Getting a colonoscopy typically every 7 to 10 years is recommended. When colon cancer is caught early, it can be cured without any significant long-term ramifications.
Dr. Ed also says men should pay attention to their prostate health, particularly if they are over 50 years old or who have a family history of the disease.
For all men, but particularly for men that are older, we're very much supporting screening for prostate cancer.
Health experts say checkups should not be skipped, and Dr. Ed says having at least one person in your life to talk to about your health is important.
To be in this healthy journey with you, and by the same token, you're on the journey with them. You support each other through this.
Michael Richardson, East Texas News.
Now, the National Cancer Institute estimates there will be nearly 105,000 discovered cases of melanoma this year. Dr. Ed says it's important to check for skin cancer, especially for men who spend a lot of time outside.